This is Ben Mycelis from the MeidasTouch network. I had to share this video with you. It's of a band called Dropkick Murphy, an American Celtic punk band formed in 1996. If you haven't heard of them before, check out their music. It's really, really good stuff. But in addition to good stuff about their music, these are really, really kind of good, passionate people who for a long time have supported political causes that focus on union members, that focus on our military veterans. And so it wasn't surprising, although the way they articulated it was incredible at their most recent show, where they talked to their fans and they got political for a brief moment about Trump and this MAGA Republican ilk being the biggest bunch of grifters and con artists in the history of the world. This video is spectacular. Play the clip.
If you were part of a union or working class people who were allowed to build a better life in the middle class in America, you fucking listen to us. Because if you're out there buying those fucking hats that these swindlers are selling at that fucking fair, I'm sorry kids, I know there's kids here, then you're part of the problem, and I'll tell you why. Because you're being duped by the greatest swindler in the history of the world. You're being duped by a bunch of grifters and billionaires who don't give a shit about you or your family. They care about their fucking tax breaks and the money they can put in their pocket. If you consider yourself a patriot and you're spouting off that election denying shit, I will fight your ass outside if you want to. Wake the fuck up! We're working class people! These people are the fucking rich, the billionaires, and they don't give a shit! Thank you for listening.
I give Dropkick Murphys just a ton of credit for doing what they did there, because what they said, just one, was brilliant. Number two, sounded just so authentic because it was coming from an authentic place. But number three, I wish more bands and more people in public life did precisely that, because the stakes are so high. And there are so many people who are afraid to speak out because they believe, I don't want to get political. But nothing that I heard in that speech was political. And it goes back to the point that Biden made when people were saying, oh, why would you give such a political speech with members of the military behind you? And his statement was, it's political now in the United States to call out fascists, to support democracy, to say that people who attack our troops and law enforcement are not patriotic and un-American. To say those things is somehow political. Because MAGA Republicans want to dox and threaten, and because they are now a full-fledged fascist party, we're supposed to just accept that's a legitimate political discourse and just another side of a political debate and argument? Absolutely not. And when I saw that Dropkick Murphys speech they gave in between their set, everything they said there, these people, these MAGA fascists, all they care about is tax cuts for billionaires and harming and hurting the middle class and the working class and hardworking Americans, and trying to destroy and take away the rights of people. You know, and I just implore all Americans out there, at the end of the day, the Democratic Party, the reason I'm supportive right now of the Democratic Party is, one, only major political party that's pro-democracy, so it makes it very easy. But number two, they are coming up with solutions. Are the solutions perfect? No, far from it. Do the solutions often involve heavy compromise that sometimes dilutes the solutions to areas that really pisses me off sometimes? Sure, absolutely. But they're out there rolling up their sleeves and trying to come up with solutions to help problems confronting Americans. Drug prices are high. How do we make drug prices not as high? How do we protect Social Security? How do we protect Medicare? How do we help our troops? There's data to suggest that troops are getting cancer and other diseases from exposure to toxic burn pits, and they're not getting health care. What? Let's go and help them. What are Republicans doing on these issues? Fist bumping to block our veterans from getting health care. One of the things that the Republicans have said over and over again is that the moment they come into power, they're going to try to raise the prices of drugs, and that they're going to try to repeal Social Security. They're going to try to take away Medicare. I mean, you don't believe me? You don't believe what I'm saying? Here, why don't you look at, from Georgia's 1st Congressional District, Buddy Carter. This is what Buddy Carter said. Number one, they got to get rid of any loan forgiveness to students. They want to sue the students now, or sue Biden and the Department of Education or whatever from allowing there to be loan forgiveness, which mostly benefits people making $75,000 or less, while the radical Republicans are out there taking out millions of dollars in PPP loans and having their own personal debt forgiven when they should just freaking be members of Congress. But here, this is what he says, that he wants to also reevaluate raising drug prices back up, even though Democrats have decreased it. Play the clip.
How do you undo that? Let's say that happens and that this money goes out to all of these kids, 40 million plus, and then a federal judge comes along and says you can't do that. How do you undo the money those people got?
Well, that's a great question. And we've been asking that question not only about student debt loans, but also about a number of initiatives that have been instigated and put into place by the Biden administration, just like in the Inflation Acceleration Act that I mentioned before with the prescription drug pricing. That is something I'm very interested in as a pharmacist. And I've been asking my colleagues, how are we going to undo that when we get into the majority?
Right. So you have that clip. I'll show you. Want to see Rick Scott? I'll show you the clip of Rick Scott, who runs the Republican Senatorial Committee, and his plan to repeal Social Security and his plan to repeal Medicare. Here, play this clip.
You recently put out an 11-point plan to rescue America, two of the big points of which are, quote, all Americans should pay some income tax to have skin in the game, even if a small amount. Currently, over half of Americans pay no income tax. It also says all federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. So that would raise taxes on half of Americans and potentially sunset programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Why would you propose something like that in an election year?
Sure. Well, John, that's, of course, the Democrat talking points. It's a 11-step
No, it's
plan.
in the plan. It's in the plan.
Let's think about reality for a second.
It's
First off, let's talk about Medicare.
But Senator, hang on.
John.
So it's not a Democratic talking point. It's in the plan.
It's in your plan. It's in their plan. That is what they are fighting for. And our infrastructure is getting dilapidated. What do Democrats do? Pass an infrastructure bill to try to improve our infrastructure. If there's issues with inflation, we pass an Inflation Reduction Act. We try to come up with common sense problems, and we want to help workers. We want to give protection to workers. Democrats have leaned in more heavily to protect union workers than at any time before right now, where Donald Trump came in and tried to destroy unions, tried to destroy the protections of workers, people who are working in factories. I just want Americans to vote and align with the interests of people who care about them. And Republicans want to try to divide with their extremist ideology and talk about issues that, you know, we did a video before about how one of their main issues right now is, I don't even know what they're talking about, but they're focused on Lizzo and oppression with Lizzo and body mass index. And I genuinely have no clue. This is the issues that they talk about. You know, they do things like they go out and give speeches about big dick energy. I'm not joking. This is Carrie Lake, the Republican who's running for governor of Arizona, goes out and tells parents, go ask your children about big dick energy and ask them if Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis have big dick energy, setting aside that they don't. How disgusting can you be? Ask your kids about big dick energy. These are the issues, the things that they're focused on. It's just absolutely repulsive and weird. And when you see Dropkick Murphys talking about these issues, it's just so clear. It's so natural. I wish they could go around and just start campaigning in the midterms, because that's just the message that people need to hear. These Trumpers, these MAGA selling you red hats are grifters, extremists, radical, terrible, dangerous people who shouldn't be trusted with anything, yet alone the highest levels of our government. This is Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Hit the subscribe button right now. Become a member of the Meidas Mighty movement. We just passed 500,000 subscribers. Let's grow to 1 million subscribers together by the end of this year. Ben Meiselas signing off.
This November is Rowvember. MeidasTouch just released its brand new collection of Rowvember t-shirts and pins to let the country know what's at stake this upcoming midterm election. Go to store.meidastouch.com to grab yours. That's store.meidastouch.com.